Hi all, thanks for joining me today. I know it's been a long time again. I'm back, yay! Before we start, I just want to thank everybody for all your well wishes over our son from my last video, which was about a month ago, a bit over. He's doing really well. Thank you all so much for all your prayers, good wishes, etc. It was just wonderful to read everybody's comments. So thank you so much. He's doing better. He's back at work. Looks like the procedure that they did on his heart worked a treat. And so far, fingers crossed, all is good. So thank you once again. Right, so let's get on to this. What I want to do today is I'm going to use good old invoice book. Now, I've picked this up from an op shop, thrift shop, whatever you want to call them, 50 cents. So I've got a couple of different ones of these, big ones, small ones, etc. I love using these because I can make them into my vintage stuff. I also want to use some paper bags. Now, I've got lots of these. I've got ones that I've kept from where I've been shopping. I've got ones that I've picked up in places. I've got little ones that I've picked up in, again, thrift shops, op shops. These that I think I've had floating around forever. Now, you can leave them plain or you can tea dye them, coffee dye them. Up to you. You can ink them if you like. And I like them torn like that. If you want to ink them, all you need to do, and I'll just pull out a book here. There we go. A book to just put underneath it. So just my normal brushed corduroy that I always use. Pop it on. Doesn't need to be nice and smooth and all the rest. We're just giving it some colour. I like them patchy. Again, it's up to you if you want to really work on getting it so that it's an even coating, by all means, but I like that patchy look when I do these, which is why I quite often just do them with my ink, even though I've got numerous ones that I've coffee dyed or tea dyed sitting in a container over there. It just depends on the look. You'll see when I've finished this, and I wasn't going to do the whole of this, but anyway, you'll see when I finish this, it just gives a slightly different look. And what it does do is picks up all the seams, I suppose. So here's one we haven't done now. So you can see how it just takes off that white. So if we set that to that to that, so you've got your three variances of colour. Plain white, just slightly tanned, I suppose would be, and then a deeper one. If you're inking it, do it both sides, okay? So for this one, we'll use one that's already done, and I've just noticed that little bit's out, so we're going to glue that section back on there. Once I get my glue to work. Pins here. Okay. And it should run beautifully because it's a lovely sunny day in my room at the moment. Alright, I can see where it needs to go because it's still white there. Just give that a quick push down. Otherwise, things are going to catch, because what I want to do with these, probably should tell you that before I go any further, shouldn't I? What I like to do with these is have them ready for when I'm doing a journal. When I'm doing up my signatures and they're just folded pieces of paper or whatever else, I like to have these around as well. Now, when I'm doing up mine, I don't always have exactly the same size of paper in my journals. I like odd sizes, different sizes, some that are shorter than others, some that are really narrow, that sort of thing. And that's where I like to use these. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to fold it over again, so it's not exactly even. Just give that a crease. I just need to fold those bits out that want to refold on themselves. That's it. Grab my bone folder, give that a really good crease. like so. So what I've made is something extremely skew with. Let's go a little bit closer to the edge. Right. And as this is me, I'm going to ink my edges just so that they highlight up. I'm not going to do on my seams, just my edges, just so that they nicely stand out. Now you can use any inks you like, they don't have to be distress inks, whatever you're happier working with or whatever you've got to hand. So let's have a look. And down. Now this one I want to go both edges because I want to make this into a pocket on this side. Over there. And of course, being me, I'm going to refold that out that way. Got that. The other thing I find when you do use coffee or tea dye, because they've had all that water with them, they get that beautiful, beautiful crinkle. I love the crinkle that you get, that you just don't get as much. It's there, but it's... See how it's a different crinkle? It's just believe me, okay? Just believe me. I know that there's a different crinkle. I can feel it in my hands. You can hear it. And for me, it's just one of those things. Right, very quickly, ink around. I've got that. I'm going to pull out this one now. I've got a finished one over here. We'll show you that in a minute. So, I'm just going to go to this. You can see this has been pre-used. I'm going to tear out one of these. Now I have coffee and tea dyed these before as well, but I found that some of them give a really strong chemical smell once they're dyed. Don't ask me why. Some brands do, some brands don't. Whereas I find if I ink these, I don't get it. What I want to do is just pop this on like so. So I'm going to tear it down there and I'm going to tear down there. Still have my straight top and bottom. I'm going to make a pencil mark for where I want to go with that. Around about there. So sit that on my line. Vaguely. And I'm just going to use my ruler to tear it. Like so. And this one I want torn down there just with a nice ragged edge. Again, if you're not into tearing, you don't have to do this. You can cut it nice and straight. You can tear it with your ruler. I just want to go up the side of that bit. And I want it to fit down there. So if that's sitting in there, I'm going to go around about there and finishing around about there, just so I know where I'm going to and from. How's that? It's easier now because it's smaller, like so. Okay, so again, it's nice and white and all the rest. We're going to get rid of some of that colour. And again, I just want it blotchy. Yeah, blotchy would be the word I reckon I'm looking for. So I'm just literally wiping that over. I'm not trying to go into that nice, smooth, edged finish, you know. I'm just trying to take the colour off it. So again, we can look at it. We've got that colour taken off. I'm just going to do my edges. Right, almost done. Move that one out of the way. That one, I'm just going to glue straight on there. I'll find another bluish book, one that's not 2 done. And glue stick. It will curl because the invoice paper is so thin. It's good because it doesn't add bulk to your journal, but when you've put glue on it, it'll want to curl up on itself. See? So I'm going to go from that way, sitting it down and matching up my bottom edge so that that bit's straight. There we go. If I need to move it, I can move it in a hurry before it's all stuck down, but that's looking good. So we've taken a brand new bag, a brand new invoice, and vintaged them. We're going to decorate the front of that one, but on this side, what we want to do, so we've now got a nice little pocket in here. Let's find the rest of that invoice. Put that one down there like that, and let's say we stamp that. So we're just going to look for a backgroundy type stamp. Let's just go into a scripty type stamp. How do you reckon? Like that. That'll work. Set that there. Now, I did find when I was playing with my other one the other day, I used my VersaFine Clear ink. It took a long time to dry on this, but I was finding that the archival permanents or any of your permanents will dry a lot quicker. So we're going to use this one today. Now, I want, there we go, piece of paper. It's about that long to tuck in there so that I'm not stamping the other edge. Like that. Close enough. It could, of course, been a little bit larger, but that'll do. Right, that's for that one. I'm going to stamp that one on there, and then, of course, that one's going to come over there. Make sense? Let's use the stamp platform. Let's just use the stamping platform because I'm a tad bit lazy. Straighten that up, Kylie. Now, set that there, like so. I want that one, and that's going to sit in there like that, I'm thinking. Okay, so we're going just down this side. If we've missed a spot, we can see where that is and re-put that back in, but it's mainly this section just here that we want. Now I only have a very little stamping platform, just the 6x4 one, but for things like this it's a little bit small, especially for my magnet. Let's see how we're going. Oh, no, that'll work a treat. All right, forget what I just said. Taking that one out. Okay. Sitting that one there just to add to the mess over there. This one's going to go in there like so. Happy with that. Let's grab that book that we can ink that one back up again as well. Get rid of the white the same way. Like that. That's all it needs. And of course my edges. Doesn't need it to be very dark, and I'm literally just doing the edge. I'm not taking the ink further over onto the paper, I'm just highlighting my edge so that when it sits down you can see exactly where that is. So see how it's just literally the edge. Now I want glue. Yuck. Well, that glue's a bit gluey. Then I suppose I'd be whinging if it wasn't gluing. So, you know. Going to turn it that way so that, as I said, it curls up on itself. So if I start over here where I can line things up, you probably can't see a thing that I'm doing. I'll move my hands. There's that. Okay, now we've got that. We've got that. Let's put a pocket in here. What have I got floating around? I know. Look, here's the yellow part of it. Let's do that. And so quick, so easy. I'm just going to grunge this yellow so that it's not quite yellow, and I'm just dabbing my ink on there, giving it some darker spots, some lighter spots. Okay, and the edges. Now it's fairly thin. What I might need is something to double that over, just so that, because we're using it as a pocket, I don't end up with it let's see if there's a blank oh look here we go. Watch what I'm going to do is adhere that onto there, just so that it gives it a double thickness, and I don't then run the risk of it tearing when I'm trying to put stuff in there. Right, so see what I mean about how it curls. There will be no lining up, Kylie. We'll just line up the top and then we'll cut around the rest. Like so. How's that? Flattening that out. Now you could always scrunch that and put it on. It would go like tissue paper and give you a nice texture as well. Yeah, that's made it a little bit stiffer, so we're going to be right for putting things in and out of it. Does that make sense? I know it does. And then I will re-ink where I've just taken that. That one's a straight edge. We'll keep that one as a straight edge. Right. It is a little bit wet. Of course it's a little bit wet. Just used all that glue. Has the light just changed too much on that? I have rearranged my studio completely, and I mean completely. There's not one thing in here that was in the spot that it was before, and so now, but I've got my desk, my craft desk, against the window, so, and I didn't realise just how much light it put in, but it does make it of an afternoon just a little bit bright, so I couldn't see anything on the screen to see what it is that I'm filming. I just hoping that I was in shot. The sun's just disappeared a bit, so I'm hoping it's still fairly good for you. I won't know until I've played this back and had a look. Alright, so we're just going to make this into a standard pocket. We can decorate it later. This is me, we probably won't. I'm pushing that together a little bit just to give it that lip so it's not too tight when we want to pop something in. So it's just got a little bit of a lip at the top there. Alright, there's that, there's that. Let's do something on the back. I want some lace. And I think I want stamp again because that one worked a treat. The permanent one worked really well, so I'm just going to put that one back away and we will stick with the coffee dye in the permanent one. Let's find something else to go on the back of that. So on this side, maybe we go backgrounds. Let's have a look. Let's have a look and see what we've got in backgrounds. That might just fit, mightn't it? It's a bit stuck. Right. That will work. That one will work. We might just hand do that one. What do you reckon? See how we go. Just going to tuck that under there so that I don't put that permanent ink. Making sure I'm up the right way. Going to about there. Give that a good push with my hand. It's not going to be as good an impression as if I'd used an acrylic block or my stamping platform, but it'll give me, let's go with blotched again. It'll give me that in and out faded look. Kinda. That's a pretty good impression actually, Kylie. There you go. Alright, once again, forget what I'm saying. Just as you were. I'm wanting that one. I'm going to colour a little bit of that. So we've used a paper bag, we've used an old invoice pad that you will pick up at, you'll still get them brand new in stationery places and stuff like that, but you will find them in op shops and thrift shops in all different sizes where people have used them for one thing and then donated them. Sometimes they have writing in them, sometimes they don't. And they're such a cheap thing to have in your stash to utilise for all sorts of things. I like tearing them up and using them as strips on clusters and stuff as well, but do remember, a lot of them, if you coffee or tea dye, for some strange reason, have a real chemical smell. I'm assuming it's from the carbon stuff that's in them to make them transfer. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm hoping you know what I mean. Get rid of that. Put that there. Alright. Oh, that one's curling already. The sun's come back out and I can't see you again. So, that way. Is this one straight? Can we remember? Yeah, I think it was. Okay. So now that they're done, you can either decorate them, you can leave them as is, ready to go into whatever journal you're doing and decorate them for that journal. My journals are always the same theme. So it's just, that's me. That's me. I want some lace on the end of that one. Let's have a look. I want some lace on the end of that. So I'm going to pop some of this one, which is just a fabric glue. And I'm just going to go down there so I can see where that bag finishes. That's getting empty, Kylie. Right. I'm just going to rub it along it. If I get any blops, I can use my silicone brush to move it out, but that's going quite well. So I won't need to do that. Do close it though, if I can. And with my lace, make sure I've got my lace up the right way. And I'm just going to sit it on and work my way down so that it's right on the edge of my paper bag. Now, if all else fails, you can even make your own paper bag. It's up to you. There we go. Trim that off. And I'm going to cut it on the same angle that my paper bag is. This one will be on an angle as well. And I'm thinking I want some of that one because I like that one. That way around. We could always go down there, couldn't we? I might do that with that one. I might. Let's go back to this. Just on the edge. Oh, got glue. Got glue. Alright. So just right on that edge that I've done on that. There it comes. Like so. Alright. And this one is that way around. So we're going to go that way. And I'm just going to hold that in there, right on the edge of that. Oops. Oh, and it fits perfectly. Look, it'll cut off there. So I'm just going to squeeze that down a little bit to make sure it does. Before that dries. Beautiful. And I should be able to trim that at the end of those. Lovely. That looks nice on that side as well, because you've got to remember it's not sitting in there with those two together. Anyway, look, you could, by all means, you could do these, pop them in a pocket as they are. That would be nice, actually. Pop it in a pocket like that. We need to decorate that. We've got that. We need something to go in there. We've got there, there, and there. Told you it was a quick one. Here's one that is finished that I did with just the ink the other day. It's here somewhere. There it is. Right. Same thing, but this time it's been done with the ink, so you can see the difference in the colour in it. Again, I've used, because the whole point of this was to use this invoice book. This time it's all been decorated up. I've got my little pocket in here. I've done a different stamp in there. This was the stamp that I did using the VersaFine Clear in the acorn, I think, and I'm telling you, it took at least a day and a half to dry properly, and it's quite warm up here at the moment. So just the coating that's on the bags, just watch, they will dry, but it may take a while. So I've got that lace up here, but because this one I had torn right out, whereas this bag, there's the hole where the string was in, and I've obviously cut the string and pulled them out when I've tea dyed or coffee dyed a pile of those. So this one was just ripped out so that it gives me that jagged look. I like that. This side, I've got a large piece of that, small little offcut of something else, and I've got some of that lace here. Two exactly the same but different. So same but different. So if I sit them top and bottom, yes, this one's not decorated on the bottom one, but literally just pieces that were on my desk. So just some little labels and bits and pieces. You know me, I've always got these sorts of things floating around on my desk. Little bit of cheesecloth and a stamp. We open it up you'll find that this bit's fairly similar. Ready for a journal card to go in here. Turning it over, and we've got two different ways, but again, using the yellow as well. I hope you like that. They're great, as I said before. Have them sitting around, ready to go into a journal. I would find a journal and show you what it looks like in one that hasn't been sewn. But as I said, I've rearranged my room and I'm still trying to find my smart places of where I've put things, as we do. So I'm just jumping back in. It's later in the evening and I finished it. I know, pat me on the back. Thank you very much. But I'm really happy with it, so I just had to show you. It was too hard to photograph. So, front cover, I've stuck with my stamps again as per normal. Couple of little labels and some cheesecloth again. I've even popped some little bits in my pocket. Just again, found bits and pieces that were floating on my desk. I've done my journal card. Again, I used the rest of that page that we had sitting around that I used for one of the other, for the back of that, and tore around it, used another invoice piece on it, gave it a stamp so that it's plain on the back so that you can still write on it, and that'll just go there because of course it's not sewn in yet, so it'll slide right through if you're not careful. And I liked it hanging out, which is why I've torn it across there. So can you see how it's torn? And then my back piece, I've found another lady. I thought I'd go with my old vintage ladies with this one. So just wanted to jump back in for that. I will have cut this into the other one. So now it's goodbye. Have a lovely week. And until next time, bye. Happy crafting.